Hi there, Matt Pierce, Juan Rosario, and Chief. How are y'all?
How's it going, Mayor?
Doing good. Welcome, Paul. Welcome, Kyle.
Hi, Mayor.
Looks like Rory, Nate, Laura, Quinn.
Hello, Mayor.
Welcome to all of you.
Evening, Mayor.
Welcome, Bryant.
How's it going?
Windy, warm, wonderful, I guess.
The 3 W's, the classic 3 W's.
That's it.
For the record, I think the arts portion will go quick. Do we have anything else for this, or are we going to have a little bit of a break?
We may have a break unless there's items the council would like to discuss off the agenda. Hi, Kane, welcome. Welcome, Dustin. Welcome, Glenn.
Mayor, if it's appropriate and we have time afterwards, I could go over that manpower model that regarding our domestic violence call we had a few weeks back.
I think that's a good idea.
That saved time during normal council.
Yes, good idea. Okay, well, it's 6 o'clock, so let's begin with our workshop on this 17th day of November. I'll read the electronic city council meeting after our workshop, as we potentially will have residents join us. But let's begin. Arts Council. Bryant, do you want to introduce everybody on there?
Yep. Participating, I think, let me look at the list. It should be Wade Walker and Stephanie Johnson. Are you both on there? I'm looking through the list. I see Wade. Don't show Stephanie quite yet. But, and then we'll have, I think, the other council members.
Hey, Mayor, will you say something? I got to check my audio.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, my audio is not working.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to log out and log back in, see if that'll fix it.
All right.
Wade, are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Stephanie was going to join by phone. If there was a dial-in number, I assume there was.
I don't see one on here yet. Wade, do you want to get started? Mayor, do you want him to get started on this? Or Wade, what would you like to do on that?
I'm good either way. I'm the main presenter, so Stephanie was just going to listen in to provide any flavor if I forgot something.
Fair. I say we go ahead and get started.
All right,
See
let's
what,
do it.
And see what we get.
We don't, I mean, at least we're not sending out a phone number for this. So if you want to get going, I will try to talk with IT and see if there's one that we just don't post that we can pass on to Stephanie. And then I'll reach out to her if we have one, unless IT's listening and can let us know if there is one.
Okay. Well, yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to provide an update on the Arts Council. Our last presentation to the City Council was February earlier this year, and needless to say, a lot has changed since February. You guys know that as well as we do. So our mission statement for the Arts Council hasn't changed, to continue to promote the arts in Midvale, and we've continued to try to do that during the pandemic. So just a couple of personnel updates. Melanie Beardall and Melody Chapman both resigned from our board this past year. Melanie had to help with some family health issues, and Melody is a young professional who had a few too many irons in the fire and needed to drop one of them for the time being. So we still have our 5-member board, but we're always looking for additional members of our board. So if any of you have anyone that you would recommend, that would be a good addition to our Arts Council board, we'd certainly love to get any recommendations on that. So shoot them my way. Ashley Grant is our arts administrator. She's been on for about a year now, and that's working out well. She's been successful at getting us grants. And as you know, we've had some struggle with our prior arts administrator. And so we're happy to have someone on board that's actually carrying her weight and pulling through with getting us grants. So, and our volunteer council remains active, although we haven't had a lot of activities lately, but we still have an active volunteer council that meets periodically. So just briefly, the pandemic did obviously impact our programs this past year. We were right in the middle of our spring show, Midsummer Night's Dream, when the governor issued the order to shut down. Fortunately for us, we were able to stream one last live performance of that and put it out on Facebook for those who hadn't been able to come in person. So that was a successful kind of end to that performance, even though it got stopped mid-run. But we had to cancel our summer theater production. We canceled our summer concert series, our Hall of Honors induction ceremony, our visual art contest that we usually do in conjunction with Harvest Days, and our Missoula Children's Theater annual production that normally happens about this time of year in November. So we had to cancel all of those things, which was a big impact on us from our programming. There was also the indirect impact that we canceled. Obviously, we couldn't use the city buildings, and so a lot of our rental contracts with our partners and others that rent the Performing Arts Center from us, we had to cancel those contracts. So we actually lost a fair amount of revenue that we had, would normally get from those lost contracts. But despite the fact that some of those programs were impacted, we continued to host several virtual events. So we tried our best to continue to promote the arts in Midvale. Bob Bedore on our board is great with video productions, and he had several great ideas. We did a shoebox float parade for the 24th of July, since they weren't doing the Days of 47 parade, and had people make shoebox floats and to send us pictures. And we did a little video production, and Bob announced it as if it was a live parade, and it was pretty funny. We did a couple of concerts where we asked Midvale residents to submit songs for Midvale's Got Talent. We did a patriotic virtual concert, and we had limited participation on those, but still, an opportunity to reach out to the community. We also did a collaborative Shakespeare show of Macbeth, where our arts administrator assigned scenes out to different volunteers, and they put together their own videos of that scene, and then we spliced them all together to do a whole show of Macbeth. And that was kind of a fun, entertaining way for us to do that. The Walker Brothers, which is myself and my two brothers, we did a virtual concert. Quick Wits, which is our partner improv comedy group, they did an evening of comedy improv for the Arts Council. And we've got a musical theater bracket competition like March Madness going with different musicals that are competing against each other. So we've tried to stay active and involved in giving the residents something to look forward to look to us to for arts, some arts entertainment. And we're particularly happy that upcoming in December, for the first 3 Friday nights of December, we've got a concert series. It will be a virtual concert, but we received some grant funds to use for local artists, a Create in Utah grant that we were able to take advantage of. And so we're doing 3 concerts on the first 3 Fridays of December. The first one is the LeBaron Singers. They got a lot of YouTube videos, family videos. Their biggest one was they did One Day More from Les Mis, and it kind of took off and really got them on the map. And they've done several other videos since then. But 2 of their family live right here in Midvale, so we're happy to have their family, doing a concert for us on the first Friday in December. The second Friday, we've got Ann Pusey, who's a well-known music director in the Valley. She's got several professional artists that she's bringing in to do a Christmas concert as well. And so they were excited, having been out of work and not been able to do a lot of these, things that they typically do, to be able to participate in a concert and receive some funding for that. And then the third Friday of December, Quick Wits is going to do an improv version of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. And I think that could be really funny to see an improv version of that. So we're looking forward to that Christmas concert series in December. Again, we were able to do that because of a grant that was specific for that, a Create in Utah grant through the Utah Division of Arts and Museums in Salt Lake County, to use specifically for local artists to promote the arts. As I mentioned, our arts administrator, Ashley, has been very good. She's continued to pursue grants. We got our ZAP funding again for this next cycle of just under $15,000. They did tell us that it's likely to decrease next year, funding across the board, because of decreases in tax revenues potentially. But we were happy to get the grant again this year. We got a much smaller grant from the Utah Division of Arts and Museums for separate operating expenses. And then Kyle was also able to kind of point us towards a lost revenue grant that Salt Lake County offered through the Small Business Grant Program. It's part of the CARES Act and things, but we were able to receive some funding from that of about $22,000 to help cover the ongoing costs that we had during the pandemic, that didn't go away just because we weren't doing programs. And so we've been somewhat successful in our grant fundraising opportunities, and we've done pretty well weathering the storm of the pandemic. Luckily for us, where we don't, a lot of our costs are variable, and if we don't do productions, we don't incur those costs. But there are some ongoing costs that we have that we're grateful that these grants have helped out. So our plans for 2021, a lot of uncertainty, obviously, with the pandemic still. But we're forging ahead. Instead of a spring theater production that we'd usually do in person, we're going to do a virtual literary event and have people, write poems, short stories, different things like that, and share them through a virtual event. We hope to do our summer concert series since it's outdoors, and next summer we hope that by then, things will have stabilized and we'll be in a position where we can do that summer concert series. And we had a lot of comments from people this year that really missed that, and missed that weekly trip over to the park to enjoy the concert. So we hope to be able to do that again, and then to do a summer or fall theater production, as conditions permit. One of the things that did want to update you on is Hall of Honors. As you know, we usually do that in conjunction with Harvest Days as well. and obviously that was all canceled this year. The inductee this year is former Mayor Joanne Sagini, and if you had the chance to read the journal article that we submitted a couple months ago, I did have the opportunity to talk to her before she passed away. Kind of a chance occurrence out jogging that I passed her while she was out walking with her physical therapist, and caught her on a good day that she remembered who I was. You know, and when we talked about the Hall of Honor, she was genuinely surprised and appreciative to be recognized, you know, for that honor. So I was grateful that we were able to notify her prior to her passing, and I hope that, you know, once things calm down, I've been talking with Laura a lot about this, you know, that when things calm down, that we can have an appropriate ceremony to recognize her and her contributions to the city, inducting her into the Hall of Honors. One thing I think I've talked a little bit about with Kane and possibly the mayor is we talked about doing a joint resolution and renaming the auditorium inside the Performing Arts Center the Joanne B. Sagini Memorial Auditorium. And I think that would be a nice recognition of all that she's done over the years to support the arts. We look back and we think we wouldn't have the stage in the park, and we wouldn't have the Performing Arts Center, you know, and the current form that it is for us to use if it hadn't been for her influence, you know, in the city funding those projects over the past several years. So we're very appreciative of that. And hopefully as that date draws closer, when we can do that ceremony, you know, that we can again work with the city on having the city council formally, you know, adopt a resolution to name the auditorium after her and a way to recognize her. So just finally, you know, our relationship with the city continues to be great. We appreciate the financial support, the facilities we're able to use, the IT and public works assistance that we get. And in turn, we continue to try to provide quality arts events for the residents of Midvale to enjoy. We've got a couple projects going on right now with outstanding requests to the city. One is we're at the front end of an electrical upgrade project at the Performing Arts Center. We'd like to upgrade the electrical so we can add more lights and technical sound things, you know, there in the auditorium. We do need to have a structural engineer come in with us and, you know, kind of tell us where we can install lights in the ceiling at the Performing Arts Center. So I don't know, Kane, if we have a structural engineer on staff, or if that's someone that, you know, you have contacts that we can reach out to. We've sent an email to Levi and, you know, trying to coordinate that. Haven't heard anything back yet, but, and then of course we'll need permits and stuff as we, you know, get ready to move forward with the project, but we're hoping to get that done during this pandemic season when, you know, the theater's not in use, and get that all ready to reopen. And then the two other kind of outstanding items, we currently don't have our grant contract with the city yet to receive funds from the city for this current year. I think we were looking at the format that needed to be in. We've had different formats in the past. One year we just submitted an invoice to receive the funding from the city. Another year we had a formal grant contract. So we'll continue to work with the city on that, getting that contract in place. And then just kind of a miscellaneous question, and maybe Lisa can help us look into this, but one of our recent grants, they asked for a copy of our business license, and we realized that we don't actually have a business license with Midvale City. We've got our charitable solicitation permit, we've got our IRS tax exempt, you know, all of those identifications, but don't formally have a business license with the city. So we probably need to figure out if that is a requirement for us and how we need to go about getting that.
You know, Wade, you did ask me that a while ago. I haven't forgotten. I remember every time I see you that I have to talk to you about it. But I think that you probably do need a business license, but I also know that there are, I mean, that's not something that's difficult to get or costly or anything like that. But I think technically the Arts Council should.
Yeah, we would, I think you can get that form online, Wade, and fill it out. And then we would waive the fee.
Right.
Okay.
But it makes sense to have one.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that we think about occasionally and then forget. And then this recent grant came out and we're like, oh yeah, we need to pursue that again. So, okay. And then
I think it would make sense too for us to just, I mean, this presentation you're giving is very helpful in informing us of everything you got going on and what will be going on. It would probably make sense for us to get back together to sort of address some of these administrative issues, just all at one go in the next couple weeks.
Okay.
Maybe sometime after Thanksgiving.
Okay, that would be great. Yeah, we Stephanie and I certainly be available to have a smaller meeting to go over some of those admin things. But finally, just as an arts council, we just want to give a shout out, to a few people. Laura is great, at keeping us in the loop and publicizing our activities, and we appreciate her efforts. And then Kyle has kept us posted on a few grant opportunities, like the lost revenue grant and things we've been able to take advantage of. And then, of course, Levi and Public Works have been, helpful in just taking care of the building and things for us. One thing that we kind of wouldn't have happened if we'd been using the building regularly, but we'd been out of there for a few weeks, and I went in one evening and found the basement partially flooded, and it was one of those things that under normal circumstances we would have noticed it, immediately when it happened. And I think, just because no one's in there, using the building right now, it had been a few days and had a few inches of water down there in the basement. Luckily it was fairly contained, and it was later at night, but called the on-call Public Works guy. He came right over, got disaster cleanup company there, to help resolve the problem right off the bat. So very responsive, and we appreciate Public Works and their help with that. So
Wade, I just wanted to jump in real quick on
Yeah.
the Levi and I were both out of the office last week, but we did discuss the email this morning, and I think that your contact was Chris Peck, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I will be reaching out to him shortly to get some more information.
Okay, that's perfect. We appreciate that. Thanks, Glenn. So that's it for the Arts Council. Bryant told us to try to keep it short because you guys have a lot of stuff to cover, and I know from my telework environments that I've been in the past 8-9 months that these Zoom meetings they take a toll on you. You wouldn't think they take as big a toll on you as they do, but they do. So unless you have any other questions for us, that's kind of our report. Again, we're very grateful to the city for their continued support of the Arts Council, and hope that we can continue to provide benefit to the residents here with the things that we offer.
Well, you obviously do. We've got a lot of happy citizens that have crossed paths with our Arts Council, and we do appreciate your work. We look forward to a year that you will bloom and blossom even more.
Yes, indeed.
Council, do you have any questions for Wade?
Hey, Wade, have you done anything artistically on Zoom with any of, the normal players?
What do you mean artistically on Zoom?
Just like a show on Zoom.
I see what you're saying. So like some of these where they've, the cast of Hamilton gets together and sings something
like that.
I don't think that we've done anything on Zoom like that. I mean, we've done, as I say, we've done a few virtual things where we did the shoebox float parade, but it was, Stephanie and Bob kind of together hosting, talking and things, but we haven't done, a musical number or anything like that, or a show. Our literary event in the spring, we kind of have talked about that might be, facilitated that way where, multiple people are on there, participating at the same time. So.
Okay. It would be
we haven't, but QuickBooks has.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi, Stephanie.
QuickWits has done some on, and they've cross promoted on our page. But yeah, our upcoming stuff, we've tried to make it so that we can do the Zoom stuff.
Okay. I would just be interested. Obviously the goal is to not have to do that, hopefully. But, it's interesting to see other, I've seen YouTube videos of casts of like the Princess Bride got together to do stuff like that. But
yeah, that was awesome, and it's fun to watch stuff. Yeah, so Stephanie said QuickWits did do one concert for us, which was a Zoom thing where they brought their players together and did improv. It was one of our concerts, so kind of like that. But we don't have normal players, recurring actors and stuff that are kind of our set group that we'd go to for something like that. But we are trying to pursue, a bunch of different things. So we'll talk about that as well, if there's an opportunity to create something fun that way.
Cool. All right. Thank you.
Sounds like we need a Studio M group. Okay.
Yeah, there we go. Studio M. Well, we have talked about the one room downstairs in the Performing Arts Center, kind of turning it into a recording studio a little bit with some sound protection on the walls and recording equipment that would be kind of fun to Studio M. That's good.
Hey, Wade, this is Quinn. Just two things. First of all, thank you to you and your wife and Stephanie and the Beardalls and everybody else who has been so involved for years for what you do for the Arts Council. Councilmember Brown, you too. I know you're involved. The second thing is just, I know when you guys reported to us earlier this year, you talked about the Amazon Smile and how people can put the Arts Council as the charity to receive some funds. And I think that was just kind of starting. Stephanie, have we seen that increase where people are using that and the Arts Council is getting some donations?
We have a couple people who specifically donate through Amazon Smile this year so far through October 31st. And I'm sorry, I'm in a windy situation, so I do apologize if there's wind coming through. About $100 in corporate donations that was all Amazon Smile.
Okay. Well, that's good. And every little bit helps. I know over time, hopefully it just builds up and
for sure. That's office supplies.
Yeah. Okay. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. Any other questions, comments for Wade? Thank you, Wade.
Well, thank you. And thanks
Thank
to
you.
Bryant for being our liaison.
And thank you, Stephanie, also.
My pleasure.
We appreciate you both very much.
Thanks.
Okay, Chief Thomas has an idea to explain a little further what happened a couple of months ago. Would you like to take over now, Chief?
Absolutely, and it'll just take a moment. I will, if this doesn't work out, I'm going to try to share my screen, and it sounds really simple, so I will see if it actually works here. Okay, can you all see that little wheel there that says 40 plus in the corner?
Yes.
So what this is, and you may have seen something similar to this on one of our previous large call outs. I believe it was the homicide that is a Candlestick. This is a manpower model that reflects a significant amount of the resources that your police department threw at the domestic violence call a few weeks back. As you recall, it was where the 2 children were involved and witnessed the mother being killed by the father. It says up in the upper corner 40 plus. That's because you really can't get, there are people that respond that may not check on the radio. So what we do is we pull the CAD call, or the computer aided dispatching call. But you can see initially, our sergeant, our watch commander, our on duty officers all responded to the scene. And I kind of explained the horrific process they went through in, saving lives and trying to get to the victim. But at the same time, as you go in a clockwise direction around that, there's no particular order, but We had 2 Mill Creek officers respond, 2 Taylorsville officers respond. We ordered up our incident command truck and our forensics truck. And that's typically when we have a long-term investigation or a significant investigation on scene. This was not very different from the homicide we had over at True Hilton next to Winco a week after this, where we pull these large trucks in the area and they serve as a command post and a central gathering area, either for forensics or for our command. But you can see we had 2 people, you have bodies that are called out from off duty to at least facilitate getting those trucks there. We called out our entire violent crimes unit, which included their chief, came out, their sergeant, their lead detective, and 7 support detectives. Along with that, you get your forensics supervisor and 4 forensic techs. It was even in this one where the scene was mostly contained within the residence. There was a scene that went literally down the street to the 2 houses away. There was also, victims at the hospital, a little girl getting her hand sewn up. So, even that where it's fairly contained, we still needed 5 forensic techs. Special operations, they called out 2 officers to, facilitate with getting additional equipment down to scene. You also see there's a SWAT medic in there. And what that was is our SWAT team was training that day, and SWAT medic was on his way home, heard the call, was fairly close to the area and responded. And he actually went inside the scene while our officers made contact with the suspect. Once they called, Sandy Fire was actually pushed out on this one and was standing by for us to make the scene safe. When they came in, I had an opportunity to witness the video from body cam, and I was kind of curious as to why the SWAT medic did a lot of directing of these Sandy firefighter officers. But what I found out after the fact and in talking to him is they were just EMT certified, to my understanding. So there's the firefighters, but they're not paramedics. So there's a different level of service or care they can provide medically. And so he kind of directed the scene inside, including to our officers. And luck of the draw that night, we were doing a multi-agency operation in the valley. So he happened to be, right place, right time to help out with that incident. You'll see we don't have anyone on our training unit or from the range, but what we do is after the fact, we debrief with them and see if there's any value to perhaps, in a critical incident, do we need to change our training or our firearms tactics? Obviously, the vet component on that is big. They dispatch medical, they dispatch fire, they operate a channel, they tend that channel the entire time we're on scene. So all the audio is recorded. Animal control, you'll see that's up in the top there. There was a dog on scene at this house, and when we made entry, we had to contain the dog, but at the same time, as we process the scene, we need to get the dog out of there and safe. And so it's a small scene, but you see there's a lot of moving parts, and being able to throw 40 plus personnel at that is the advantage to having, the UPD model. And what's not shown on here is there weren't any calls holding in the city of Midvale as this happened, or White City. Council, if you have any questions, I just think this is something in the future. If I can build these out on significant cases that we have here, I could certainly do one for the homicide that was down by Winco. I think it'd look very similar to this. But if you have any questions, now's a great time.
Chief, you said this one was for the homicide at Candlestick.
No. I did one of these prior. The very first one I showed you was the Candlestick. This is the domestic violence on Settlement Circle.
Okay, gotcha. The one 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be interested if it's not too hard to put them together. The one, the Winco incident would be cool to see that.
Would you? I can certainly have that produced and pushed out prior to our next meeting because it'll be a while.
Oh yeah, take your time.
I can do that, and it's pretty self-explanatory. I just think it gives you a good idea. And then if you have questions on any of these services or responses, I'm happy to get them answered or direct you to perhaps that like the violent crimes unit sergeant or anything like that. I just hope it helps the council. That's all I
Thank
really
you.
have for this. Thank you, Council Mayor.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate your good work there. And Chief Thomas forwards to us the notifications that come through UPD when there is a violent crime or a serious crime or incident within Midvale. And I'm really appreciative of the quick, thorough, and accurate work that UPD performs in our behalf in saving those that are entangled in a illegal activity. So thanks, Chief, and pass that on to your crew.
I will. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I try to push out our watch command as soon as I can. Anything that's not perhaps sensitive to the investigation. And when given opportunity, I will actually try to push out information prior, or if there's an operation going on, especially like even as of early this morning, there was an incident down at Wasatch Club with shots fired, and it made watch command. It was interesting because on the Midvale resident page, someone has outstanding Ring doorbell video that it doesn't capture anything other than the audio, but it's very, very clear that you can count the shots fired, the timing, that even on the clock, it looks to be accurate. So, I forwarded that link to our investigator to add to his case, but our officers did, in this incident, they went down there. It was a intoxicated man that for some reason decided it was a good idea to go outside and fire his 22 caliber, I believe it was a long rifle. And he went to jail for that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Council, is there anything you'd like to talk about with city staff? Well, we've got about 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Were we going to discuss an update on the coalition to end homelessness, that issue that arose last week?
Yeah, we could. I am planning on doing that as part of my comments when our citizens join in.
We could save it for then if you'd already planned to do it then.
Yeah. Laura, do you have any input on that?
On the coalition?
Yeah, on their decision to.
I think Matt has more information on that.
Yeah. So, and maybe we'll repeat a little bit of this later, but we last week, the mayor, myself, and others had been communicating with a variety of folks, trying to just make sure that we made clear the message that, one, the site that was being proposed by the coalition had the zoning conflicts that it does. We also, and therefore, in order for us to even consider that site, that it would require an amount of public input and public process in order to make a change, if that was a direction that we wanted to go. We explained that the site also has a variety of issues that are sort of generally understood as being negative for sheltering facilities, that being close to an interstate exit, the proximity to the other homeless shelter, and some other related issues. And then we also have been reminding everyone about the number of things that Midvale already does, including having the family shelter, coordinating with them, providing public safety for that facility, as well as numerous other public services for people experiencing challenges in their lives. And with that message, we spoke with the Salt Lake Valley Coalition to End Homelessness. We spoke with Mayor Wilson. We sent formal communication to the property owner that was for the site that was being considered. And then we also did a few interviews with some news outlets. And through all of that, where we ended up is that While the coalition, I think, did express some disappointment, given that their concern is just finding some place for those experiencing homelessness that our current facilities won't hold, finding somewhere for them to go. They did indicate that they will be looking at some other facilities that are in other communities in order to try to meet the needs that we have. In addition to that, and I'm sure the mayor will talk about this a little bit later, that the mayor will be speaking with the committee of COG.
Council of Government.
Council, thank you, sorry. Council of Governments on this issue to try to bring up the fact that there are some other communities that we believe also have a role in the solution, and to see what we can come up with that. So through all of that, it is our belief at this point that a site in Midvale is not being considered at this time.
I think that it appears to us that have to work with layers of government that this decision may have been made without a lot of counsel, certainly with the city that was intended to receive it, and may not have had a lot of counseling with their own central government. And that is what appears to us to have been the issue. And so when it was sprung on us, it caught us all unawares. And so we objected to it based on the zoning, as Matt explained, the proximity to our other homeless shelter. It's actually if you walk, it's probably less than 4/10 of a mile. And we want to keep a half-mile radius around the family shelter as victim-free, crime-free as we can make it. That's been our commitment to the Road Home Family Shelter. And so this would have plopped a considerable number of single adult men and women within that half-mile radius. I told Mayor Wilson that after Thursday, if there is no other city that is willing to help us or help the homeless to the extent that they need, that we could look at it again if it came in through the front door and not through the back door. And they made the proper applications, and that would be if no other city was willing to take it up. I've talked with Mayor Wilson, Mayor Silvestrini of Mill Creek, and Matt Dahl was on the call with me. Mill Creek is intending to take.
Mayor, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to point out something with regards to the zoning that that right now, if someone were to come in, that there would be a pretty extensive process, and that we have communicated to the coalition that there's a likelihood that meeting the needs for this winter, going through that method would be challenging, which is another reason that we hope that another city would step up. But we did not indicate that it was going to be something that would be able to happen quickly, because just like our other land use issues, it requires a fair amount of participation in order to make some of those decisions. Sorry for interrupting, Mayor.
When we took on the family shelter, which beforehand was a winter overflow, much like this one's intended to be, we dealt with the state or the county. I was not mayor then. Maybe Kane can refresh our memories, but that was a process, and Paul was on the council at that time. That was quite a process. It was not an overnight decision. They just didn't bring buses out the day after they talked with us, it had to be worked on for quite some time to prepare the family shelter, which we have now. But at the time, it was an adult overflow in the winter also, I think November to March, just like this one is intended to be. Am I right, Kane?
Yeah, it started out as a winter overflow shelter. Just to remind the council, the existing family shelter is still not an actual permitted use in the zone, and it was a conditional use to run it as a part-time shelter, 6-month shelter, and so that's really the way it is currently today. However, the state legislature overrode the city's zoning law, and remember, there's a sunset clause on that. Yeah, that was the condition that we had with the shelter. That's why that shelter, they actually wanted to build a bigger shelter, but they couldn't because of the public input and the public hearings that they had to change that facility to a full-time shelter. The public outcry was considerable, and the city council chose at the time not to increase the size of it, to leave it the way it was as a conditional use and a part-time shelter, and that's why that shelter ended up being 21,000 square feet. But you're right, Mayor, it was quite a process back then.
Yeah. And it's been a process a number of times since then as conditions have changed and demands have changed. And like you said, the state imposed it upon us. Paul, you want to say something there?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest disappointment in my mind is even though we went through the whole process legally and everybody agreed, even the homeless shelter people agreed that this is what they were going to do. And then once they got what they wanted, then they changed their mind and changed what they said they were going to do. So even though we're told one thing, something else happened. So I'm a little leery of, even though they say what they're going to do, that probably won't happen.
Comments, questions?
Well, I think, Mayor, the other thing you hit on very well. Hopefully, the other mayors involved with the Council of Governments with COG will recognize that all of the cities need to help. This is not a 1 or 2 or 3 city problem. This is a global problem for Salt Lake County. And if all of the cities stepped up and took their share, this really wouldn't be that big of an impact to one city. So hopefully you'll be successful with the other mayors and Mayor Wilson in convincing the other cities to step up. And, I mean, they were looking for 60 or 70 beds or 60 or 70 rooms, which is about 120 to 140 beds. They could, if they really got all the cities to step up and take, do 10 rooms in each city, that takes care of the problem right there. So hopefully the others will see that this is, I know that I spoke to the city of South Jordan last week, and South Jordan totally understands our position and basically said that they would help with it. So I think you have at least one mayor that will support you I think there's several mayors, but they will support you Thursday as you present this to the Council of Governments.
Yeah, when it became clear this was coming down the road, I still had time, I made a request to put this subject on the COG agenda, Council of Government agenda for Thursday. So it was accepted. Mayor Wilson called me. Mayor Silvestrini was on the same phone call. They're both understanding the situation and are willing to help us, or help the coalition, I should say, find sufficient suitable housing for overflow adults in the county. I believe those places exist. I even had one of our Midvale residents call up and said, you know, there's a Shopco on State Street about 59, maybe 6,000 south that's completely vacant. And so, you know, it's not for lack of floor space. It's has to be dealt with in the proper fashion, getting the zoning and conditional use to work in the correct way, and then it can be done. It's just that upon us, it was just thrust within a week from the time we heard about it in substance to where they said, well, here it comes. And that's when I threw up my hands and I said, no, don't think so. So anyway, Dustin, you had a comment?
Yeah, can you just keep us up to date as to what happens on Thursday at that meeting? You know, I understand everything that you're saying. I think all of us here on council agree with the position. You know, it might sound cold to some folks to say, you know, we've done our fair share. But at the end of the day, I want to be confident that the folks that need a place to stay find a place to stay, whether it's in our city, South Jordan, Draper, Harriman, Riverton, wherever. You know, I think council should just be aware of what happens on Thursday and moving forward, because, you know, and we think of the homeless problem as some other cities' problem, because if there's a whole bunch of homeless people congregating in Salt Lake City, we tend to think, oh, those are Salt Lake City, but they could very well be people who live in Midvale or Sandy or Murray. You know, they could be our folks who need a home. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, I can give you a very real instant example. I had a pickup truck show up across the street from my house midweek last week with Idaho tags on it. And there's a lot of construction going on in my area with contractors parking up and down the street and in the shopping center. And so I shrugged it off for a day or two, but it never moved. And then my grandson said, hey, there's life in that truck. So I walked over and there was a couple in there that are homeless. Their vehicle had a real serious problem with one of its wheels. And they were sleeping in the truck. And I invited to take them to where they could get vouchers, whatever they could from like what we offer our homeless people at the family support center, and they would have nothing to do with it. I found out there was a citizen in Sandy that was giving them some improvisational assistance and direction, and I just talked with her today, and she had arranged for a tow truck to come and take the pickup to a garage that was her son or somebody like that could repair the front wheel, and they need a new front windshield and several $1,000s probably of work on that pickup. Anyway, that's what we have going on. And I gave him the want ads from Sunday's paper. He said he had lots of skills in fix up and manual labor. And I said, well, here's a whole page of them. So he was really happy to get that. But, you know, there's levels of assistance that were available to him that he and his girlfriend just were not willing to take advantage of right away. Now, when the truck got hauled off, I asked the lady from Sandy, I said, so what are you going to do for the two individuals? And she said, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. So, you know, there's perplexities all the time in dealing with the homeless and jobless. So. Comments or questions? We've got a few minutes yet. All right, well, you need a potty break? This is a good time. I'll meet you back here in 8 minutes. Well, it's 7 o'clock. And so I want to welcome everybody to this Midvale City Council meeting on the 17th of November. Hard to believe November is already half gone. We'll be into December and having the new year. We're in, what's that, 13 and 30, 43 days. Isn't that right, Matt? Is that what you have on your whiteboard that you keep changing?
45.
45 days. All right, we got 45 days to go, folks. 2020 will be behind us. This is an electronic city council meeting. The meeting will be an electronic meeting without a physical location pursuant to Utah Code 52-4-207 as amended by House Bill 5002. I, Mayor Robert Hale, as chair of the Midvale City Council, hereby make the determination that conducting the meeting with an anchor location presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present at the anchor location. This determination is based upon the fact that the city is unable to ensure compliance with the guidelines and public health protocols mandated by the state's current risk phase. As restrictions take place across the state for limiting public gatherings, the city wants to make sure everyone interested in participating in city council meetings can do so. The meeting will be broadcast on the following links. There's a YouTube and the Mixler and city websites. If you would like to provide public comments, please email your comments to Laura Magnus at lmagnes@midvale.com. Or you can comment on Midvale City's Facebook page prior to the completion of the public comments portion of the meeting. You may also submit comments if the mayor and city council open a specific agenda item to public comment. These comments will be read aloud in the meeting and will be part of the public record. Previous to this meeting, we held a presentation by Midvale City Arts Council to discuss what they have been able to do during this pandemic year and what their plans are for the next year. And we're grateful to have them. First thing we're going to do is a Pledge of Allegiance. And so Chief Thomas has his trusty American flag. He's going to raise, and let's stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Rory Andreessen, our city recorder, will now call the roll to see who is present.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Heidi Robinson.
Here.
Councilmember Gettle.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Sperry.
I'm here.
Some trouble. Okay. And Glover.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. All present and accounted for. Our next item is a report from our Unified Police Chief, Randy Thomas. Randy?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Good evening. First of all, I want to express my thanks for letting me go over in our workshop the manpower model regarding one of our recent police incidents. Along with that, I want to let you know that the investigation that on the homicide at the True by Hilton down by Winco is still ongoing. As of last week, our SWAT team served a SWAT warrant service to gain additional evidence that was a part of that crime. So it is still ongoing. There's no danger to the public at this time. The lead investigator does believe that the decedent, as well as the subject that was shot and ran into the Winco, they knew each other, and the crime itself is contained between those two at this time. At last meeting, I mentioned the updated pink tag warning citations that we were having printed. I do have those now. So now all we need is a storm to go out and try to help out Public Works by putting out the word. And like I explained prior to that, our intent is when we get a storm that is an inch of snow or more or ongoing, we will try to go out as we can and put as many citations on vehicles that are parked in violation of our new ordinance as possible, and record their driver's license plates into our database. So at least we give a good warning, and it gives hopefully a good message out to the public that, look, we want to keep our streets available for parking, but if we need to get the vehicles off the street so the plows can get through, that's what we need to do, and have good cooperation with the community. I want to thank Mayor Hale. He sat on our UPD governance committee, and if he hasn't mentioned, I'm going to be chairing the new major incident review board. We sat through 7 really qualified candidates, and I want to thank Councilman Gettle. I believe you sent Nicole our way. Very impressive candidate, and I'm pleased to say that she's been selected. What we'll
wow.
do, yeah, she's
Awesome.
is actually out of 7 of them. They're really only, as we designed the board, 4 seats available. However, my recommendation to the sheriff as well as Chief Mazarin was, out of the 7 that we bump it up and put 6. There's a really good cross spread across not only UPD jurisdictions to include White City, Kearns, Mill Creek, Midvale, really a really diverse selection of people and really good candidates. What was most impressive to me with more than one is they came from some adversity, perhaps at a younger age, and even expressed that they didn't like the cops back then. And it wasn't because of the cops, it was to their own admittance. It was, that's who they were and that's what they were back in the day, and now they're different. And that really impressed me. And it was more than one that stepped up. So I think the ability for council members to reach out to those in the community that really had what we're looking for to give a new eye or perspective on, perhaps these major incidents that get referred to this board was very successful. So I appreciate that. I will, last thing I'm going to mention is this Thursday evening, I mentioned it before, Lieutenant Malone he's going to focus some enforcement effort down along the corridor to include our motels and hotels. This Thursday evening, we're going to go out in force and look for any kind of criminal activity in that area with zero tolerance. And when I say criminal activity, I'm not talking about light traffic violations. We're looking for those that are preying upon our community or those that are staying within our different motels or hotels, and try to make a statement as to, those that are here for no good, that we don't want that in our community. So that will be happening this Thursday. If you hear anything from the community or see lots of red and blue blinky lights after dark, that's what the problem is going to be down there. We're out there in force and taking care of business. That's all I have to talk about this evening. I'm open up to questions if you have any, council or mayor.
Chief, has Nicole been notified? And if not, can I notify her?
You're more than welcome to. I did email her a request to, what we do is a basic background investigation on each of the committee members, just to ensure there's not perhaps a conflict. We actually like to look at backgrounds that aren't clean, because we know that, we're not going to disqualify anyone for what they were. It's really what they want with their community. So yeah, you're absolutely, I would welcome you to. I did email her last night. I don't think I got a response as of yet. So
okay,
I'd love you. It'd be great if you could.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions, council? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. We'll now switch over to Brad Larson, our fire marshal for UFA. Welcome, Chief Larson. Good to have you here.
Thank you, Mayor. It's good to be here. Council members, I have a brief report tonight. And if it's okay, I ask to be excused sometime shortly after the mayor staff reports. I have a matter I need to attend to. I just want to quickly say that we at UFA really appreciate the partnership that we have with some of the businesses here in Midvale. Captain Steve Schmidt at your station 125, last Friday they went to Overstock for really kind of a pre-planned activity, but it was to help complete a training assignment for one of our journeyman firefighters, someone who just got out of recruit school, to help teach them the proper way to pre-plan and do an inspection. Overstock was very accommodating and a great community partner to help out with this. Also, this coming Friday, the Utah Fire and Rescue Academy, which is under the umbrella of Utah Valley University, has fire inspection and company officer inspection courses that they offer en route to a degree. And as part of that course, of course, they've been doing almost everything via Zoom right now. But as part of that training, they have to go and complete an inspection at a business as a training exercise. This is for the company officers, the captains at your stations. UFA is sponsoring this class, and most of the members of the class are from UFA. We've been able to arrange some inspections this Friday, small groups of 6, which is in keeping with the governor's mandate and safety guidelines that we have, wearing N95 masks and so forth, and going at a time when the buildings aren't heavily occupied. But FL Schmidt and Top Golf were kindly agreed to help accommodate this. we just really appreciate the businesses in Midvale and the collaborative effort that they share with us in promoting public safety. So a big drive of this class for me, and what I've seen as they go through the course, is that it teaches the firefighters and company officers to approach businesses in a consultant-like manner and try to develop a team approach to fire safety rather than going in with a heavy badge or heavy hand. Because if we can talk to businesses about how certain code issues benefit their businesses and keep them and their employees safe, they become advocates for fire safety and actually make it so that we really don't need to do an inspection. Sometimes they'll call us and say, what about this? Could you come and take a look at it? And that's the approach we want to take with the businesses. So FL Schmidt, Top Golf, Overstock, and other businesses in Midvale are great partners with us in this effort, and we really appreciate that. I just kind of wanted to briefly mention that. Mayor, I know you may have some news on the Fire Station 125, the new one. Be exciting to hear about that. But that's really all I have for tonight. Does anyone have any questions for me? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And yes, I do have some good news when it's my turn to talk. Thank you. All right, the next thing we have is a proclamation, which I will read. And since it's a COVID year and Black Friday is ahead of us and the holidays, this one addresses the small businesses that exist throughout our economy and here in Midvale to provide us with the needs that we may have. So here goes. Whereas the government of Midvale City celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our economy and community, according to the United States Small Business Administration, there are 31.7 million small businesses in the United States that represent 99.9% of all firms with paid employees in the United States and are responsible for 65.1% of the net new jobs created from the year 2000 to 2019. And whereas small businesses employ 47.1% of the employees in the private sector in the United States, 62% of US small businesses reported that they need to see consumer spending return to pre-COVID levels by the end of 2020 in order to stay in business. 65% of US small business owners said it would be most helpful to their business to have their regulars, that's in quote, return and start making purchases again. And 3/4 of the US consumers are currently looking for ways to shop small and support their community. And whereas 96% of consumers who shopped on Small Business Saturday agree that shopping at small independently owned businesses supports their commitment to making purchases that have a positive social, economic, and environmental impact. And 97% of consumers who shopped on Small Business Saturday agree that small businesses are essential to their community. And whereas since its inception in 2010, Small Business Saturday has illuminated the significance of supporting small independently owned businesses across the country. Falling between Black Friday and Cyber Monday, It's a day dedicated to supporting the diverse range of local businesses that help create jobs, boost the economy, and keep communities thriving across the country. And whereas Midvale City supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our communities, and whereas on average, for every dollar spent at local small businesses, 67 cents stays in the local community. And now therefore, I, Robert M. Hale, Mayor of Midvale City, and the Midvale City Council do proclaim November 28, 2020 as Small Business Saturday and urge the residents of our community and communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday and throughout the year. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and affixed the seal of the City of Midvale this 17th day of November 2020, adopted on this 17th day of November 2020, and it will be signed by myself and our City Council. Any questions or comments? All right, we do need to support our small businesses. There's the pie we're going to eat for Thanksgiving, I ordered from a small business just today. So we're looking forward to that. The next section of our agenda is public comments. Any person wishing to comment on any item not otherwise scheduled for a public hearing on the agenda may submit their comment via email to Laura Magnus at lmagness@midvale.com or on Midvale City's Facebook page prior to the completion of this portion of the meeting. Items brought forward to the attention of the City Council will be turned over to staff to provide a response outside the City Council meeting. So I'm going to ask Laura Magnus, do you have public comments that are to be shared?
Yes, Mayor, I do have public comments this evening. The first public comment I have is from Lynette Phillips, and she says, Mayor Hale, 20 plus years living and paying taxes here, and for the first time, I am ashamed to say I live in Midvale. Your comments to the Tribune were made without City Council approval and do not reflect the values of Midvale. When a reporter calls, it is best to get back to them with a statement, especially when representing the city. The City Council should admonish you. We are in a pandemic. Many have lost their jobs. We need kindness and decency. Many of us are one paycheck or medical bill from a shelter. Inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of least of these, my brethren, we have done it unto me. One of the greatest challenges we face caring for unsheltered is humiliation heaped upon them by society. Your public comments add to this. Unsheltered men, women, and children deserve kindness, human kindness. No one asked to live on the streets during a pandemic, encounter daily hunger and scorn, below freezing temperatures, be frequently robbed, beaten, or raped, suffer from physical and mental illness, or to become addicted trying to numb the pain. When I first encountered the Midvale shelter, it was a seasonal overflow in a sad, drafty warehouse. Together, we turned it into a new, clean, beautiful shelter housing. Midvale was a city that cared for everyone. Rented hotel rooms are guaranteed income during the most difficult time for the hospitality industry. The hotel is walking distance to a track station, a community medical clinic, mental health services, and a grocery store. It is very well placed to serve the needs of an unsheltered population while they try to get back on their feet. Do not let Midvale become like Draper in the eyes of Utah. Lynette Phillips, MPA, longtime Midvale resident. I also have another comment from Mr. Wade Walker. I want to thank the mayor, city council, and city staff for thoughtfully addressing the issue of the use of La Quinta Inn as overflow housing for the homeless population this winter. Although we are all concerned about the homeless population, particularly during the cold months of winter. I wholeheartedly support the city's decision not to allow the use of La Quinta Inn for this winter housing for the same reason Mayor Hale outlined in his recent Facebook message. Mayor Hale's message also presented a much more balanced explanation of Midvale's support of the homeless community than recent news articles have portrayed. Those who are arguing on social media that the mayor and Midvale City have no heart clearly don't understand Midvale's history of supporting the homeless community and the millions of dollars Midvale has spent over the past several years supporting the current shelter and its population. I think it is time for other cities to step up to the plate in the same compassionate and comprehensive manner that Midvale has. Thank you, Mayor and City Council. And those are the only two public comments I have this evening. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. That was balanced, I guess, huh? Okay, then let's turn now to council reports, and we'll begin with Councilmember Paul Glover.
Yes, this evening I would like to say that I do support you, Mayor, in the decision with La Quinta Inn. I do think it's the right decision, and hopefully we'll be able to work with the other cities to be able to solve this homeless problem. This problem is something that's not just recent, it's going on and on and on. And so a lot of different ways that we can solve this, but we need to work together with the other cities to make sure it's taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Bryant Brown.
Yeah, I just want to mostly echo what Paul said, or Councilman Glover said. The only issue I just wish we'd have a little heads up and maybe open discussion before things like that come through. I'm guessing it probably came in quick, so it's hard, but I think it probably is pretty understood that was going to be a pretty sensitive topic. And I had maybe a dozen people reach out to me before I saw the news article that said, "What are your views on homeless people?" before I caught on that there was something else going on. So, when those things come up in the future, if you could give us a heads up, pass along some information so we can discuss it, talk about it. That way we're not sort of caught blindsided, because what I heard was other people's perspective on it before I heard the city's. And so it sounded a lot different, which I can understand why some people view things differently, obviously. So that's just my one comment on this topic is, moving forward on those hot button topics, let's just make sure we communicate a little bit better.
Thank you, Councilman Brown. I think that's exactly why the process of zoning and conditional use permits is in city government, to prevent blindsiding the government officials and elected officials in cities. And that's what didn't happen. And so that was our biggest off-the-cuff objection to this process, is that we were not given time to work it through the system as our codes demand. Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Councilmember Dustin Gettle.
Thank you, Mayor. I did want to follow up from last week. I mentioned we were hovering right at about 90% voter turnout in Salt Lake County, and the last numbers, which I think are the official numbers now, we did hit 90.11% in Salt Lake County. So that's something I think we should all be proud of. We ran a campaign during a pandemic here in Salt Lake County, and it seemed to have been very, very successful, as it appears to have been in other jurisdictions across the country. So we did a good mail-in balloting this year, as we've done the past 4 or 5 years now. And I don't think we've seen anything like that 90% turnout before. So that's incredible. One issue I wanted to... Oh, go ahead.
Justin, the one thought I have on that, which maybe you would know better than me, if you try to put a citizens referendum, isn't it based off of percentage of voting during a presidential election year?
Yeah, there's a very weird formula they come up with, but yeah, that is very much part of it.
So that would be a huge number people would have to get going forward.
Yeah, so they take that number and then, you have to get a certain percentage of those folks to sign a referendum in order to get it on a ballot. So yeah, that would make that number more
Pretty high.
Yeah, pretty high. But the citizens and referendums that we've had in the past, they've just like far exceeded the signatures needed. So, it seems like when there's an issue that people care to get on the ballot as a referendum, it gets there with room to spare.
Yeah. You just said my thought about from last week and I forgot to mention it. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry.
No, that's okay. The other thing, similar topic, I was wondering, I've mentioned before about establishing a committee that would do the redistricting for us. I think I called it a redistricting committee, but I don't do the flashy names. Anyway, I was wondering if someone could remember 10 years ago how we did the redistricting. Councilmember Glover or Mayor Hale, I think you probably were here for that. Kane, for sure. Just to see the process we had before and how we could make that a more community-driven process.
I
the next
think
time
Rory
we have to do
has
it.
the duties on that one, don't you, Rory?
I do, yes. And actually, at that point, 10 years ago, our city attorney at the time, Craig Hall, took the map and worked through it and divided it as equally as possible. Then we brought it back to the council to discuss and to look at the map and then approved by the city council.
So no one would have a huge,
No.
I don't like taking duties from people, Rory, if you
you're
wanted
good.
to, if that's something you've done in the past and we're expecting to do in the future, I hate saying
No. I think
we're gonna.
I think that would be a great process to get others involved. I think it would be
Okay.
good. It's not an easy process. It really is not.
No, and I wouldn't imagine it's just taking a look at a map and throwing darts and where they land. Those are the new council districts.
Well,
But
yeah. The other thing you have to make sure is that you keep the voting districts as they are, so you don't try to redo all of the voting districts. You got to work with the county as well. If you want to change any of those, it's a process.
okay. And do we know approximately when we get our new numbers that we use to do the redistricting? I'm assuming
Usually we'll get them in the early spring, April.
Okay.
Yeah,
So then-
Bureau doesn't turn them over until New Year's Day. So then the national government starts working with them and spreading out the data to the states.
So then our municipal 2021 elections shouldn't be affected by the redistricting. Oh, my one and only concern about this whole thing is just the massive amounts of people who have moved to the Jordan Bluffs area who, are in my current district. But if you look at my district map, it's all empty streets and empty space that have now been filled in with, probably a couple hundred at least, probably closer, honing in on 1,000 maybe.
Unless I miss my guess, I think it will affect the election because we'll probably have a summer deadline to implement our changes.
Okay, so do we need to wait until we get those official census numbers, or can we use some sort of estimation to start the process? Because I would hate to wait until June to mess with districting that's going to affect an August.
Yeah, I think it's very wise to wait until the numbers are in so that we're working with the data that will bind us to the new districts rather than coming up with a plan and then having to change it when the numbers become official.
Okay, because we would have a August primary, and then maybe there's the talk of ranked choice voting as well. So I foresee a collision of a bunch of different things happening next spring that could result in some electoral chaos for those of us who may want to run for an office. And
Happens every 10 years.
yeah. So if we could, use any of the knowledge that we have from 10 years ago to apply to this cycle so we don't run into any of those issues, or, just mitigate some of those problems in advance. I think that would be wise to start taking a look at. And that's all I have for my report tonight.
Thank you. Councilmember Sperry.
The only thing I have tonight is to echo what's been said on individuals struggling with shelter and housing. That at Midvale, we have a long history and rich history of helping those people and anybody who falls on hard times. But we also recognize this is a wider problem than just our city, and so we do need to be working with other cities and the county leadership in recognizing places that make sense. And so hopefully we can do that going forward. Mayor, hopefully the meetings that are coming up will be productive and decisions can be made to be able to help them without overburdening one particular municipality. That's all I have.
Thank you. And Councilmember Heidi Robinson, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I think the other council members have stated anything I would have on the current situation, so I have nothing further tonight.
Thank you. All right, it's my turn then to report. So I want to take care of a couple of little things. First, in our UFA meeting today, it became aware to us that we can direct our CARES funding to our particular UFA stations. And so I would like to ask our city administration to pursue that and see if there's a way that we can help stations 125 and 126 with funding. Also coming up, we will have a virtual meeting with our new legislators. And I think we've got two. Is that right, Kane? We've got two new legislators. You're muted. You're muted, Kane.
I'll start over. So we have Andrew Stoddard has retained his seat, District 44. District 45 is Steve Edison, who was the incumbent, but he's only right at this point out. Looks like he's got about a 77 vote lead there, less than 2% or less than 0.2% lead. So I'm not sure that race is over yet. Galen Benyon, it has taken Marie Polson's position. She didn't run. And then Steve Christensen was appointed to take Ken Ivory's place midterm as he resigned from the House. And he looks like he's been elected permanently to District 47. And then Senator Kathleen Reeby retained her seat. So right now, I mean, we could have. We haven't really had a chance to meet. I met with Steve Christensen up on the Hill, but we haven't met him in our meeting with the City Council or our legislative breakfast that we've had. So he's technically new, and Galen Benyon is the other new one. The league is asking that we contact all of them.
Yes, okay. So it sounds like 2 or 3 new people.
Right.
It'll be good to meet them. Thank you, Kane. The next thing that Chief Larson alluded to, UFA has decided to build a large fire station on Center Street where the old City Hall used to be. And they're working through our planning commission, our planning economic development group, so that they can get the proper plans that work in the zone there. This new building is estimated to cost $9.25 million. So it's no small investment UFA is making in our city. They're going to have a 2-engine station there, or maybe more. I'm not sure. I think it's 2 though. It's a large station. And a comment I heard from the architect firm is that Midvale is very cooperative in our staff. So I want to compliment Nate and his group there that are working with UFA. Thank you. And I've appreciated the ideas that have come from Council Member Gettle on the use of potential use of CARES funds for to mimic what the city of Harriman is doing, providing for senior citizens and students and others that have a lack of computers and internet connection. Perhaps there's a way we can spin off much of that money that way too. All right, the elephant in the room has been for the last 3 weeks, the homeless shelter on the grounds of La Quinta Inn on Catalpa. I would like to go over just a little bit of history that I can recall, and that is, I mentioned some of that in our pre-meeting. Midvale was selected in the late 1990s to have a winter overflow, and there was a warehouse on 9th Avenue that was selected, and we dealt with it as a city. It was difficult, and once it had been determined that was to be the location, the Road Home organization bussed people out in the evening to stay at the facility, and then came back with a bus in the morning and took them all back down to Rio Grande. And that's the method that we took care of the adults for several months, or a couple of years, as I recall. And then the state legislature decided that it needed to be a full-time position, full-time operation. And Mayor Seguini worked out a deal where we would take the families here and not the adults. And so that's when we began our family organization, Road Home, and the coalition picked up the building, remodeled it so that it was sanitary and larger and more convenient, had more requirements for running a shelter. And we picked up the families. They had to have children in their family and be homeless in order to apply to be there. And we've been doing that now for several years, taking care of that. The coalition has had 3 other facilities built since that time, since Rio Grande closed down in 2017, I believe was the year. And 2 of them are in Salt Lake City and 1 in South Salt Lake. And they're to deal with adult men and women. And besides those large buildings, there have been also several smaller organizations that have taken in small numbers, under 50 beds, for short duration overnight stays. In late October, we are planning, our Patrick O'Brien, our housing coordinator, and Nate, and I think Kane and Matt were notified that they were looking at the La Quinta Inn to be an overnight or a shelter for adults again. And within a week, they scheduled a tour. And when the tour was called, that was the first time I had any knowledge of it. I reported to the La Quinta Inn and walked with the coalition through the La Quinta Inn. It was pointed out that it was large enough to handle the proposed number of 140 and that there were sufficient rooms. As we walked through the building, there were comments like, here's where we could put up a partition to divide off where the homeless people are from the tourists that would be staying here. This is a door where we could have them enter here on the back side. All of this started raising red flags in my mind that this was not, it's not going to be according to the zoning laws and fire restrictions and all of that that falls into play when there's a large use like that. You know, the area around the La Quinta has some neighbors that have caused lots of problems in the other motels. That was a worry that we all expressed. Chief Thomas brought it up several times that this is an issue here in this area. And it would not be helpful to have 140, up to 140 additional adults, male and female, in that area with the existing circumstances that are there. And then we got considering also the proximity of the Family Support Center. And our definition of a free zone, a crime-free zone, is a half mile. Well, this La Quinta is less than 4/10 of a mile. Walking. By car, it's almost a mile, but by walking, which most homeless would use that method of transportation, it's less than 4/10 of a mile. And we brought that up and generally objected to the imposition across our zoning, conditional use permit process, and the short time fuse. And here we are in late October, and they wanted to start it on, I forget, it was like the 20th of November. And so we just felt hamstrung. I think it was last week on Tuesday, we had a meeting of the State Homeless Shelter Coordinating Council. And when an opportunity came up, I raised the question, how is it that Midvale is getting 2 facilities and we're having, we've got 1 and we're doing well with it, and larger cities, I know Salt Lake has 2 facilities, South Salt Lake has 1, and I wouldn't propose putting another one in either one of those cities. But why is Midvale, a small 6 square mile, less than 35,000 population, being asked to take on a second one? And the type that would, in my mind, make the area around 7200 South not unlike the Rio Grande just 3 years ago. And the state had no answer. They realized it was a county issue that had to be dealt with, and that's okay. But my bringing that up caught the ear of the media, and hadn't been 30 minutes after the meeting ended, the Tribune called and interviewed me. And the next day, the Deseret News and oh, I forget his name. He's a talk show host on 1320 or 1270, one of those two, interviewed me also. And then Matt was interviewed by KUER, and I'm not aware of any others beyond that. So their jobs are to sell. And so they made our position a little more controversial than what it was in order to get listeners and sell advertising. And I'm okay with that. I mean, that's their job, but it causes us to have to restate some of the things that we had objections to. And so after a few conversations like that, I called or Mayor Wilson, Salt Lake County Mayor Wilson, asked to have a phone call interview with me. I joined that phone call interview last Friday, about 5 o'clock. Matt Dahl was on the line, and Mayor Jeff Silvestrini from Mill Creek was on the line. And we talked through the issue, and I felt that Mayor Wilson supported us and that the proposition did not move forward as it should have. And so therefore she was support. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I asked that this issue of homeless shelter be put on the Council of Governors, Council of Government agenda, which is a meeting of mayors in Salt Lake County. And that will be next Thursday. When that showed up on the agenda, Mayor Wilson and Mayor Silvestrini wanted to talk to us to see what our thoughts were and where they could support us, because I think they both understood the situation. And so that is yet to be done. And unless I miss my guess, there will be no decisions next Thursday, but there will be proposals. And of course, any mayor there is not going to hold his hand up and say, we'll do it, without talking to their planning, their zoning, their councils, and getting it started. And see, that's the whole problem. That's what the coalition didn't do with us. They didn't come before us with a proposition to put on our agenda, discuss with council and our administration, and work through this process through the front door. And that's what the problem has been. Now, Matt and Kane may have some additional information on that. I know Randy may want to tune in some ideas too on the crime problems we have in that area. So I will conclude my remarks. I've now talked about everything I was going to talk about. So Matt, do you want to fill in some blanks?
I think you covered the issue. I don't think I have anything else to add. So I unless there's anything you wanted me to specifically cover.
Nope, I must have got it right.
I feel the same way, Mayor. I think you covered it very well.
So council, I want to put before you and any citizens that are listening, we are not against homeless care. We have been doing it for 10 years, maybe 12 years already. But the problem with the proposal was it came through the back door. We had no idea and no time to prepare for it, no time to plan on it, no time to notify neighboring businesses. We've got a 300-unit apartment building that is in the process of being finished right across the back fence from this. I think surrounding businesses would have some concerns. We had no chance to address that, ask them, get feedback. And so everything that we've received in feedback after these meetings has been at least 10-1 in favor of the city's decision to, at this time, hold back on it. Now, I want to tell you something. I told Mayor Wilson that if after our COG meeting, no one wants to take the adults homeless over the winter, that if they worked with us, we could probably find a solution if no one else in the county can take any or all of it. So I'm not immune to picking up some of these good folks that are homeless. I just ask that the county come through the front door and do it the right way. It'll take some time. It may not be until, if we were to do it, it would probably take till February to get it properly documented and noticed to the public and get comments and work it through. So we're not in a rush. We're not stalled. We just want to do it the right way. Okay, that's my remarks. Anybody want to tune in? All right.
Hey, Mayor, what's the date of that meeting?
27th? You mean with the Council of Governors?
Right.
It's the 27th, next Thursday.
Well, next Thursday's Thanksgiving. You guys aren't meeting that day, right?
Oh, excuse me. This Thursday.
Okay.
It's coming up this week. Thank you very much. How could I forget that? Any other questions? Thank you. Okay, Kane, we'll take the city manager report now.
Okay, I'll be brief. We covered a lot of what I was going to say, but we will be planning that meeting. Obviously, we're going to have to meet with the state, our legislators virtually, online. What would the city council prefer, an afternoon or a morning for that? Normally, we've met with them at a breakfast meeting at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. I think we could move to any time of the day that the council would like us to. So any thoughts from the council on when you would like to meet? And normally we try to schedule that like the first week in December.
Kane?
Yes.
I hadn't got back to you yet. I spoke with Dave Spatafor today on this.
Oh, good.
And he was suggesting that it might be better for us, given that it would be a virtual meeting, that we would shoot for that first week in January with the intent that we would notify everyone now so that there's plenty of notice, but that if the meeting is closer to the session, that that might help us with some of the items that we're concerned with. I'm just saying that was his recommendation, but we haven't actually done anything.
Yeah, I think I might want to meet earlier because the league is wanting us to make contact, especially with these new legislators. So we'll think through that. But so anyway, we're going to plan that meeting. We'll get back with the city council. Obviously, we want the mayor and city council. You're the most important to meet face to face with these legislators, and we'd like to get all of them there in that meeting. So we'll go to work on that, and Laura is working on something now to congratulate them on their successful elections, and we'll get something out on that very quickly within the next week. The league, the LPC yesterday, the league is very concerned, as I think all of us are. As you can imagine, we've never been through anything like this. We're not sure how they're going to run the state legislative session this year. We pretty much are anticipating that they will be everything will be virtual. We won't be going up to the state capitol. We'll be dealing with the legislature online. So it's going to be a totally different experience for many of us. Well, all of us, I think. but there are some major concerns up there. Land use, again, is a big focus. There are some land use bills that are concerning, that are coming out. The league pointed out that there were 22 out of the 54 legislators that stood by the league and voted against House Bill 172 in 2018. That was to create a legislative oversight committee to oversee political subdivisions. It basically was going to have a legislative committee that would look over your shoulder on every land use decision that you made. We were able to defeat that bill in 2018, but of those 54 legislators, 22 of them are now gone. So we've got to start again to build a coalition up there with our state legislators that will support the League of Cities and Towns. And so the league's really putting a lot of pressure on us locally to get with our legislators and start establishing those relationships. So we'll be doing that now that we know who won the elections. We'll start into that in earnest over the next month and a half. Laura, I think you needed a few minutes, right?
Yes, thank you very much, Kane. I just wanted to talk, I know that the mayor and city council know about the WARM program, but I just wanted to make sure that we share this with the community. Can you see the flyer on the screen right now? Oh, no, you can't. Can you see the flyer on the screen now? Yes, thank you. So the WARM program, the applications are open as of today. I will be sharing this on social media in just a few minutes. The deadline to apply is November 27th at 5 p.m. And what it is it's a program to help residents who have been impacted by the pandemic. And we are offering a $200 gift card to Ross Dress for Less to help the residents purchase winter clothing. And all of the details are available at midvallecity.org/WARM program. The application is very, very easy and a short application. We do not ask for any sensitive information like bank information, social security number, proof of citizenship. And we encourage people who qualify to apply. The eligibility requirements are on the website. And we ask that people please share this with your coworkers, family, friends, neighbors that you think would benefit from the program. And that's all that I have. Thank you, Kane.
With that, Mayor, that concludes the city manager's report.
Kane?
Yes.
I think we're, if you're amenable, we were going to give Kyle a moment to talk about where we're at with the CARES Act money altogether.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
No problems.
Well, Mayor, if that's okay, we'll turn a little bit of time over to Kyle.
Certainly is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I will keep this brief too. So I have on this screen basically a list of outstanding projects that we're still working on with the CARES Act money. As you can see on the status, green means it's complete. The reason it's on this list is I haven't reported this to the Salt Lake County yet. In process is ones we're still working on. And then we have a couple that we're still investigating whether we would be able to do it within the timelines. The investigating ones is we were looking at doing a LED messaging sign in front of City Hall to help with COVID messaging. And then we are looking to partner with the school district on some possible projects to provide internet to students who don't have those capabilities. Most of this I did go through on with the budget amendments last week. Some of the larger ones is we are in the process of doing a software needs analysis, which is in process and should be done. In January, we'll be providing the council with the results of that. Nate and his team in community development have completed the small business grants. This number was the amount not reported to the county, but we did provide over 103,000 in grants to businesses. Planning is also looking at doing some document digitization. So They won't have to dig through piles of papers anymore, which is an issue in the pandemic when we weren't able to get to City Hall. The disc golf we had discussed. And of course the WARM program Laura had just mentioned. So these are the projects we're working on. I did do a reconciliation down here at the bottom. So we do have about 845,000 in projects, and we've already spent about 180. So we have a little over $1 million in planned and spent projects. We did receive almost $2 million in CARES Act money. So we do have monies left over. Right now, the plan with the city is we would allocate that to public safety to cover our public safety costs. However, I do know, Council, you did express some interest in doing a program similar to Harriman's where they are helping, I don't know if elderly is the right word, but providing certain individuals a tablet and internet access. We have done some initial looks into that. One of the issues would be acquiring the technology by a December 30th deadline, which is the federal deadline for that. And there would be some issues administering the program in such a short time frame. However, it is something we are still looking at and possibly doing it after the CARES Act has expired. But we are still looking into that. And that's my brief report. Are there any questions or comments tonight?
Thank you, Kyle.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
With that, Mayor, I think we're done.
Okay.
Can I just,
All
can I ask a quick question about the legislative meeting?
Yes.
Have we talked about, I was just wondering, I have a fear that meeting virtually is not the most efficient way to meet some of the new legislators. Have we talked about maybe having some sort of socially distanced actual in-person meeting with especially some of the new folks? And also I just wonder, the flow of a virtual meeting, might be a little more difficult than, just having you sit here, Representative Eliasson, and you sit here 6 feet away, Representative Stoddard, et cetera.
We could look at it. I just don't know how we could do it trying to keep the meeting under 10 people. Yeah, I guess we'd have to do more one-on-one type meetings with them.
Yeah, that's true, because we have 6 legislators who represent.
Yeah, well, we've got a senator and 4 representatives. And then, of course, we got 5 council members, the mayor, and senior staff takes us way over the top. But
I would just hate, because I know there's something to having face-to-face time.
Yeah.
With legislators as another legislative body, as we are, that might be lost in a virtual meeting.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
I hate this.
Yep.
We'll look into that and see what we can do.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we're ready for department reports, and this is Public Works time. So Glenn Kennedy, you're up to bat.
Okay, good evening, Mayor Council. Can you guys see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Tonight it's going to be a little bit different because I've got kind of a discussion item that didn't make the agenda. It was poor planning on Matt Dahl's part that didn't occur. Kidding, Matt. There's a number of pieces that we didn't have information for until this morning, so I didn't want to jump the gun and get it on the agenda, but now we're on a time crunch. So short story long, we'll just get into it. Jordan Valley is conducting a major pipeline and fault upgrade on its transmission line. It intersects the valley from east to west and does travel through Midvale weekends off of it, as well as a number of other cities. 2 of the source connections that we have on it are in need of improvements and upgrading and upsizing as indicated in the master plan. And I'll go over each individual project in a moment. The city needs a new source connection. So this would be a new connection off of Jordan Valley at 7th West and Winchester, which falls in Murray City. That is an important component to this. It is optimal to perform the city improvements in conjunction with Jordan Valley's project to minimize impacts on both our water system and their water system, and for significant cost savings. The project was not planned for in this fiscal year. This cost information wasn't available until a few weeks ago. And compounding the issue, the water fund is not able to absorb the cost of the project, but we'll get into more of that in a minute. So I don't know if you recall some of the upgrades needed to the system from the master plan, but we have a connection at 175 West, 75 South, 7500 South off of this 33-inch line. Currently, it only provides 2,000 gallons per minute. We are in need of 4,000 gallons per minute to accommodate future growth, et cetera. And so while Jordan Valley is doing this work, it is a good time to coordinate and join up with them and get some of this done. So the plan would be, while their contractor is in there, to have their contractor put in a 16-inch turnout off of that line, and then that would allow Middle to come in and construct the vault in the future, hopefully within the next year or so. Total cost to the city for that will be $40,000. As part of this project, the vault in the future would be an additional cost. The city needs a new 20-inch source connection within the Jordan Valley vault that is currently at the location in Murray, 7th West and Winchester. This one is a pretty important connection, especially for me to sleep at night in emergency situations. It'll be our only connection on the west side of the freeway. That probably doesn't mean a lot to you, but it does to the water division. The city will connect and install a future 20-inch line south along 7th West to approximately 69th South, where a flow control vault will be installed. Again, that will be done in the future. This project in particular is the time. It would be very, very good if we got it done now. The permitting with Murray City, Jordan Valley has indicated, was not a smooth process and very costly. We would have to take that on our own, as well as a few other items. I think most of you are aware of the vault install on 10th East and 78th South that was completed maybe a year ago or so. That vault was not designed with a PRV, with a pressure reducing valve. During design, Jordan Valley, excuse me, Jordan Valley indicated that the pressure that they would provide would be steady, and that the pressure that they were going to provide was sufficient for our. We didn't need to protect our city. The pressure was at a manageable rate, but since that time, Jordan Valley has made a few adjustments to their system, temporary changes that caused high pressure within our system and resulting in water main breaks. So having some discussions with Jordan Valley, they committed to pay 50% of that PRV install. So the city cost would be 20,000-ish. And go to the next. So the total estimated cost to the city is $360,000. The water fund is not in a place to absorb this. Kyle would probably have some better explanations as to why there is some money there, but it is not available. We need to have it so much in reserve for bonding, et cetera. city staff have identified a few partial funding sources. One of those includes a loan from the general fund until the fee rate study is completed. The water fund would be obligated to pay the loan back to the general fund with a minor amount of interest. Regardless, it will be funded if approved. So why now if we don't have the funding? Jordan Valley will need to shut down their 33-inch again for us to complete these projects if we were to hold off. That's not easily done. There are multiple cities that pull water off of that line, and it would take a lot of coordination to accommodate that if Jordan Valley was even willing to. And economy of scale. Laura, you're not on mute.
Oh,
You're
thank
okay.
you.
Mm-hmm. So Keith and I sat down earlier this morning, and we can't pin down an exact number, but it looks like by doing it now, the city is going to save approximately 25% of the total cost of the project by adding this work to Jordan Valley's contract with their selected contractor, which is VanCon. Most of those cost savings are due to mobilization, traffic control. Traffic control alone could run $2,500 a day for some of these projects. And then obviously the management, overhead and permitting, all that's taken care of. And I apologize for springing this on you now, but again, there was some pieces that were missing, and I was out of the office last week, so that didn't help. So really, this is just to bring this to your attention that I will be bringing a cost sharing agreement to the December 8th council meeting for your approval if you agree to this. Are there questions, or would you like me to pull up any of the drawings or go into any more information?
Questions for Glenn?
Glenn, I think it's probably a good idea. If we can get it done at the same time instead of having tear everything up again too. So
yeah,
I'm for it. I'm for doing the project.
Okay. I will bring this back on the 8th then, and if any of you have any questions or concerns in between now and then, please reach out. That's going to conclude my report for tonight, unless there are other questions not related to this topic for Public Works.
Glenn, I have one.
Okay.
This is Councilmember Brown.
Mm-hmm.
There is a lot of discussion about leafs. Are we not doing the leaf program? Do we already do it? I can't remember what was decided.
Now, when we, geez, I can't remember how long ago it was that we went over the sanitation fund and the programs, but the LEAF program was discontinued due to funding and resources. So residents will need to either put those in a garbage can or haul them to the landfill or dispose of them on their own.
Okay, there's a lot of upset people. So I could not remember.
We've been receiving phone calls as well, and I get the frustration.
Yeah, okay. I didn't want to say the wrong thing. Thanks, Glenn.
You bet. All right, if there's no other questions.
Thank you, Glenn.
All right, thank you.
Okay, now it's time for public hearings. And so I'll entertain a motion to move into a public hearing.
Mayor, I move that we go into a public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to move into a public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Our first public hearing is to consider an 18-lot preliminary subdivision plat for Jordan Heights at View 78, formerly Jordan Bluffs Condos, project located at 752 West Bingham Junction Boulevard. Alex Murphy, would you help us with this, please?
Gladly. Let me just share my screen here real quick. Okay, you seeing that presentation?
Yes.
Excellent. So we've got 3 of these to go through tonight. They're all going to be pretty similar, so I'm going to move through them fairly quickly, but feel free to prompt me with any questions that you'd like me to address. This plat, as the mayor mentioned, is for an 18-lot preliminary subdivision plat for Jordan Heights at U78. This is the phase 1 of what we used to call the Jordan Bluffs Condos project, or the Holmes Homes Jordan Bluffs project, down there at the south end of Jordan Bluffs, where Bingham Junction Boulevard intersects with 700 West or Main Street. Phase 1 did receive the whole project received a large-scale master plan approval last year, and then the site plan approval, no, that was this year, and then site plan approval this summer. So now Mr. Garza is coming back to go through the subdivision process so that he can start platting them out for individual ownership. This step is the first one. This separates each building in that phase 1 of that project into individual lots, and then the subsequent plats, the 2 that we have later today, and then others that we'll hear in future meetings, will condominiumize those buildings to allow for individual ownership. We've reviewed this one at the staff level and in front of the Planning Commission. There's not a whole lot of concerns that have come up on this one. I'll actually put it in front of you. We've got all of the development requirements satisfied as part of that site plan and large-scale master plan process. The city engineer and the fire marshal have reviewed and approved the plans. We just have a couple typical requirements that we need to see for subdivision plats, and those are related to the utility notices and the final plat process. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on this one in October and did recommend the council approve the plat with conditions. Those conditions are listed in the staff report. A couple of them have been addressed on the plat. They're relating to notes for street trees and public infrastructure and addressing. So we have a pretty easy recommended motion here where we just recommend making sure that we deal with the standard utility notices and final plat process for this project. Any questions?
These are for sale units, Alex?
The units eventually will be, yes.
It's such a weird way to answer that question. What does that mean?
So this doesn't actually do anything for the units. This is just the buildings. The next plat we look at in a couple minutes, that will be for units. Those units will be for sale when they're finished.
Okay, all right. The way I just wasn't sure the way you worded that, and so
yeah,
okay.
I mean, we just don't have any specific units on this particular plat, so I didn't want to make it sound like this one results in for sale units, but the next couple will.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Alex, I just want to say I took a trip back there just to look at what was going on, and they've made some significant progress already.
Yeah.
There's a road back there that used to not be there, and you can now very clearly visualize what's going to be there, and pretty excited about the project, both personally and professionally. I think as long as they are able to keep the units at that price, $250, I'm sure there's going to be upgraded versions that are going to be in the 3s and maybe mid 3s, but I think it's just the kind of project that Midvale needs and the type of affordable home ownership that is sorely lacking in most parts of our city, and to be honest, cities surrounding us as well. So it's a great project. Look forward to it.
Good to hear. I do have Mark and Greg Garza from the Homes team here to answer questions as well, just in case there are any that I can't do.
Okay, any other questions from council? Alex, would the developers like to make any comments?
Mark? I see he's muted.
Sorry, I was trying to start my video and so forth. I have nothing to offer unless there's some questions that anyone has for me.
Mark, are you ready to just, some of us know the timeline of your plans. Is that something you're ready to let folks know out in the community who might be interested?
Oh, absolutely. As you mentioned, the roads are in. We've paved in front of the first two buildings that will come before you later in this meeting. And those buildings will start going vertical. They've been submitted, and we got some comments back that we need to address before we can resubmit. But we are trying to pull building permits any day now. And yeah, we're excited.
Awesome. Like I said, I think it's going to be great, and I don't assume you're going to have any great difficulty getting human beings in there.
No, we're excited to be here.
Any questions for Mark from the council? Thank you, Mark. All right. I'm ready for a motion on this.
Mayor, we need to ask for public comment.
Thank you very much. All right. Laura, is there any public comment on this particular consideration?
No, Mayor, we do not have any public comments.
Thank you. Anybody listening in from the public that would like to make any comments? Thank you for that reminder, Rory. Okay, hearing none, entertain a motion.
Motion.
Let's
Motion.
close the public
Close
hearing.
the public hearing.
Thanks, Paul. I'm getting it. Okay, there's a motion and a second to close this public hearing. Comments or questions on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Now we'll get down to the important thing. I'll entertain a motion on this action.
Mayor, based on compliance with the requirements of the Midvale City Municipal Code demonstrated in the application or addressed by conditions of approval, I move that we approve the preliminary subdivision plat for the Jordan Bluffs Condos Phase 1 subdivision with the following conditions of approval. 1, the applicant shall prepare a final subdivision plat to be reviewed and approved by the city engineer, fire marshal, and city council. 2, the applicant shall provide evidence that courtesy notices have been sent to Dominion Energy, Rocky Mountain Power, Xfinity, Utopia, and CenturyLink regarding the utility easements on the subdivision plat prior to final approval. And 3, prior to recording the final subdivision plat, the applicant shall obtain duty to serve letters for water and sewer service.
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second on this item. Any questions or comments upon the motion? Rory, would you ask the question, please?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Sperry,
Aye.
Glover,
Aye.
Robinson,
Aye.
Brown,
Yes.
and Gettle.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Garza, there's step one. We'll now consider a 10-unit preliminary condo plat for Phase 1A of the Jordan Heights at View 78, formerly Jordan Bluffs Condos project located at 8395 South Iris Lumi Lane. And I'll entertain a motion to open this public hearing.
Mayor, I motion we open this public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to open this public hearing. Any comments or questions on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay, we are now in a public hearing. Alex?
Great. All right. So this one will be even easier than the last one. So this is, as I mentioned, one of those buildings in that plat that we just looked at. This project is being divided up into condominium units as opposed to the townhomes or single family or detached lots that we normally see. condos are reviewed the same way that subdivisions are, with one additional requirement, and that is to complete a set of CCNRs and to get those approved by the city. So we've gone through the site plan with this project still. Everything's been approved. City engineer and fire marshal are on board with the plat and have approved the preliminary version. So we're just looking here for the council to also approve this preliminary plat. The Planning Commission heard it in the same meeting that they heard the last one, made largely the same recommendation, and the recommended conditions of approval are the same as the last plat with the added addition of that set of CCNRs. So unless there's any questions, we can keep moving.
Okay, any questions for Alex on this or Mr. Garza? Laura, are there any public comments on this motion or this item?
No, Mayor, there are no public comments on this item.
Are there any public listeners that would like to make a comment on this?
We don't have any public listeners, Mayor.
Well, thank you. All right, then I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Mayor, that we close the public hearing motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to close the public hearing on this item. Any comments or questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Any opposed? All right, the public hearing is closed. Now I'll entertain a motion on item B.
I can do this. I can do this one with the screen here. Based on, Mayor, I move based on compliance with the requirements of the Midvale City Municipal Code demonstrated in the application or addressed by conditions of approval, I move that we approve the preliminary subdivision plat for the Jordan Bluffs Phase 1A condominium plat with the following conditions of approval. The applicant shall prepare a final condominium plat to be reviewed and approved by the city engineer, fire marshal, and city council. The final condominium plot submittal shall include a draft declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions to be reviewed and approved by the city attorney. The applicant shall provide evidence that courtesy notices have been sent to Dominion Energy, Rocky Mountain Power, Xfinity, Utopia, and CenturyLink regarding the utility easements on the subdivision plat prior to final approval. Prior to recording the final condominium plats, the applicant shall obtain duty to serve letters for water and sewer service.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none. Rory, would you ask the question?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Councilmember Glover.
Aye.
Robinson,
Aye.
Brown,
Yes.
Gettle,
Yes.
and Sperry.
Aye.
Thank you.
Very good. Now, if you'll take that down. We'll now go to public hearing C to consider a 10-unit preliminary condo plat for Phase 1B of the Jordan Heights at View 78, formerly Jordan Bluff Condos project, located at 741 West Sky Mirror Lane. I'd entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Mayor, I move that we open.
Go ahead.
Mayor, I move I move that we open a public hearing.
Thank
Second.
you.
I got all confused with Glover there. Sorry about that.
Any comments or questions on that motion? All in favor, say aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? All right, we're now in a public hearing. Alex, third time.
Okay, this one's the same as the last one, with the one difference being the location. So where the first building was on the corner, this one is now just right next to it. And the building configuration is slightly different, but it's gone through the same review process that the last plat did, and it's part of that approved final site plan and large scale master plan for this project. Has the same recommended conditions of approval with basically the exact same outcome from the reviewing bodies and the planning commission. So I am happy to answer any questions if there are any, but this one's pretty straightforward too.
Okay, Here's your chance. Anybody want to ask questions on this one?
Is there any way in the future we could combine these into something, or do we have to do two motions for something like this? Because if they're so substantially similar, running next to each other, does each one need its own motion?
It depends on how they're laid out. So Mark and I have spent a lot of time talking about how we want to tackle this, because we're going to have lots of these plats come through for this project. One of the complications is every plat that we get needs to have this separate action on it. So if it comes in as individual plats like this one did, then each one needs to have a separate review and a separate approval. If they can be combined onto plats, which I was going to talk to Mark about after this meeting, possibly we can put multiple buildings onto a single plat instead of having them separated out. If they're happening at the same time, then we could review them at one piece. The other approach we can do here is modifying the subdivision process, which is something we've been working on in the background for the last couple of months. But for now, as long as they continue to come in as individual documents, they'll need individual approvals.
Got it. I was just thinking efficiency, but I guess that makes sense.
The Planning Commission said the same thing, but if we can get them combined so that we have one plat with multiple buildings on it, then we can do that. But that's not how these ones came in, at least.
Got it.
And with these being so close together, it didn't change our noticing requirements at all, right?
No. Okay. When I did the notices for this project, I sent out, I basically used the original plat as the notice boundary. So it went out to more people than the individual condo plats would have required, and they all went out in the same notice. So everybody that got a notice for one of the plats got a notice for all of them.
Okay, that's good. That would be my only concern if we were triplicating efforts on noticing.
I agree, but they just like the squares are touching. So I was just, thought it was interesting.
Well, the squares are there because I don't have a parcel map that I can use to select the actual boundaries yet. So they're approximate locations.
Laura, do we have any public comments on this motion?
No, Mayor, no public comments.
Are there any comments from anyone listening in? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Mayor, I motion we close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to close the public hearing on this item. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay, public hearing's closed. I'll entertain a motion on this action.
Mayor, based on compliance with the requirements of the Midvale City Municipal Code demonstrated in the application or addressed by conditions of approval, I move that we approve the preliminary subdivision plat for the Jordan Bluffs Phase 1B condominium plat with the following conditions of approval. 1, the applicant shall prepare a final condominium plat to be reviewed and approved by the city engineer, fire marshal, and city council. 2, the final condominium plat submittal shall include a draft declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions to be reviewed and approved by the city attorney. 3, the applicant shall provide evidence that courtesy notices have been sent to Dominion Energy, Rocky Mountain Power, Xfinity, Utopia, and CenturyLink regarding the utility easements on the subdivision plat prior to final approval. And 4, prior to recording the final condominium plat, the applicant shall obtain duty to serve letters for water and sewer service.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments on the motion? Rory, would you ask the questions?
Yes, thank you. Councilmember Robinson.
Aye.
Brown. Sorry, Brown.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry about that. Gettle.
Yes.
Glover.
Aye.
And Sperry.
Aye.
Thank you. Well, there you go. 3 for 3, Mark. Is in baseball, if baseball were being played, you'd be paid $100,000 just for that.
Thank you very much.
All right. Have a
Hey,
good day.
Mayor, if I could ask a quick question. Councilmember Brown's question gave me an idea. Would the council have an issue if these were brought back as consent agenda items? when they come back as the final plat, or do you want to have action items on each of them?
If nothing has changed, I think consent agenda would be fine. If there's, any, even the slightest modification, then I think we should put it as an action item, but as long as nothing substantially changes.
Don't we have to have a public hearing though?
This was your public hearing, so we don't need to have another one for the final plat.
Okay.
I'm fine with what Councilmember Gettle said.
Okay, so there will be changes to some of the technical details. It sounded like somebody else was making a comment.
If it's not listed in these final conditions of approval, then I think we can add it to the consent agenda. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So if there's technical stuff that's going on behind the scenes that isn't necessarily addressed in the conditions of approval, then I say consent agenda.
Okay. I'll make sure that there's nothing else that comes up that might complicate that, but if it's that simple, then we'll make it easy for you the next time it comes through. And if not, then we'll have 3 quick action items on a future agenda.
All right. Thank you, Alex. Thanks, Council.
Thank you.
We'll now move to the consent agenda to consider approval of the November 10, 2020 minutes.
Mayor, I motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve these minutes. Any comments or questions on the motion? Rory, would you ask the question?
Yes, Councilmember Brown.
Yep.
Gettle,
Yes.
Barry,
Aye.
Glover,
Aye.
and Robinson.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to the action items. To consider approval of resolution number 2020 R48. The resolution establishing a time and place for holding regular city council meetings, designate the mayor pro tem schedule, and adopt the holiday schedules for the 2021 calendar year. Rory, we get to hear from you now.
Yes, you do. Twice in one night. Woohoo. Okay, this is the annual meeting schedule that we set. The one question that I had, since everything is still so uncertain, in August, the first week is usually harvest days. If we have a primary, it will be the next week. So do we want to move the council meetings to August, I believe it's 17th?
The third Tuesday?
Yeah, the third Tuesday. 17th and 24th. We would need to have one on the 24th to, if we have a primary, to canvass the election. So we have that one, and then we have the November because of the election. We have November 9th and the 16th. Again, we would need to have one on the 16th in order to canvass the election. Are there any suggestions, questions, comments?
I'm fine with all that. I just think that Councilmember Robinson did so good that she should just always be the mayor pro temp option.
There we go. Take everybody else off.
Yeah, I think that's the right way.
Heidi, yes.
That's a formal motion. I second it, Brian.
Why is everybody picking on the new kid tonight? Quinn, tisk tisk, I'm ashamed.
Hey, I noticed I can't go out of town next summer. I've got the whole summer. So, well, Mayor, you go out of town, I'll go out of town, and then it's the next person who's up.
Yeah.
Hey, Quinn, do you want to switch? Do you want to switch one of them? So you do the first.
Fine.
Are you sure? Because you can. We just have one of you that has to do double duty. But you don't have to be back to back.
Oh, I'm not suggesting double duty. I'm suggesting Quinn still does double duty. Oh. He just does January and February, and I would do like July and August.
And we could do that.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that too. It's okay.
Okay, so Quinn, January, February. I'll change that to January, February. And then under the exceptions, we will also put, are you good with the August 17th and the 24th?
Yeah, I think we just do that now. Otherwise, we have to either have to change the schedule or do a paid meeting in August. So
Okay.
let's
All
just
right.
now.
Okay.
I'm just looking at the calendar. August 3rd could be Harvest Day activities.
Right.
The 10th
right.
is the election. The 17th, nothing. And then the 24th, we have to meet because of the election.
Correct.
So would there be, that sounds like a lot of time between our July meeting and our first August meeting.
It'll be July 20th would be the second one.
Okay.
And
so
then,
that's 20,
yeah.
28 days in between
Yet.
meetings. My only suggestion would be then, because I know sometimes when we do that, we end up with a marathon meeting.
Yeah.
But if we have 2 in a row, then hopefully we can, the best we can,
divide them up
so that we don't
Okay.
have a 10-hour meeting on the 17th.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. Thank you. That works. Okay. And then we just have the regular holidays. This year has been a little bit crazy with the Friday and Saturday Christmas. So next year's a little bit better. A little bit. So any other questions on the resolution? Great.
Hey, anybody got a motion?
Well, Mayor, I move that we adopt resolution number, did you?
As
have
amended.
something?
Just as amended.
Oh, gotcha. Yep.
Yeah.
I move that we adopt resolution number 2020 R48 as amended, establishing a time and place for holding regular city council meetings, designate the mayor pro temp schedule, and adopt the holiday schedule for the 2021 calendar year.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second on deciding what we're going to be doing on Tuesday nights next year. Any questions or comments on the motion?
Quick question. We did very briefly discuss the conflict with the school district meetings before we set in stone our Tuesday meetings for the entirety of 2021. Is that something anyone was interested in discussing further, or?
I feel like that was really something we should talk about like 4 minutes ago.
Yeah, no, that was actually the question I meant, but then I got into the August meeting questions. So yeah, I mean, if we're not wanting to proceed with a different date, then that would make this moot, but.
Dustin, you would shock me to death if I had to go any other night. I've been doing this for 16 years.
I mean, it's nothing that, I'm not clamoring for a different date or a different day of the week, but we did mention it in the past based on some community feedback. So I think it'd be nice either to say, no, we're not going to do that, or we're still considering it.
I prefer to keep it the way we are. No matter what night you have it on, there's going to be conflicts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say we keep it same.
Somebody have a conflict.
And yeah, I think we could keep it. I don't say should, but we could keep it on Tuesdays. Just for the sake of it. The only thing I would say is that there do seem to be a lot of conflicts having meetings on Tuesdays, just the way city and state government works. For some reason, Tuesday is just a busy state and local government day. But we've managed for however many years doing it this way. So, unless there's some compelling, urgent need from the public to switch, I think that we can coexist with the school board on Tuesday nights.
Okay, we got a motion and a second.
Yes.
Rory?
Yes. Councilmember Gettle.
Yes.
Sperry.
Aye.
Glover.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
And Brown.
Yes.
Thank you.
Tuesday night it is. Okay, our second action item, consider approval of resolution 2020 R49 authorizing the mayor to enter into a vaccination location license agreement with Salt Lake County to allow the county to use Midvale City Hall parking lot as a drive-through flu vaccination site. Laura.
Mayor, as we announced at the meeting last week, the Salt Lake County Health Department is offering free flu shots. And these flu shots are more important than ever this year to help reduce the impact of respiratory illnesses that are attributed to the flu, because these place a burden on our healthcare system. As you've already seen in the news, our healthcare system is already strained. So we really want to prevent the flu in addition to COVID. So we really want to encourage our residents to go out there and get their flu vaccine, and they can do so at Midvale City Hall on Fridays from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. We are discussing tonight the MOU, the agreement, not the MOU, I'm sorry, the agreement that we're having with the county to allow them to use the City Hall parking lot to set up their flu clinic. They originally wanted to set the flu clinic up until the end of November. Well, actually November 20th, this Friday, would be the last day, but they are considering extending that because they've had such a positive response. So the agreement that we had in the staff report included the end date of November 20th, but we would ask that the city council extend that end date to December 31st, 2020, just in case they are able to extend these free flu shot clinics. That is my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I'm assuming they have some sort of COVID protocols in place.
Yes, absolutely. I did ask those questions, and they do have really good protocols in place.
I'll be there when people show up, right?
As long as the wind doesn't make them shut down. The last Friday they had to shut down early because of the strong winds.
Yeah, and I got contacted about that, so I was sorry about it.
Sorry, we didn't find out about that until after you contacted us.
Nope, that's fine.
Other questions? Let's have a motion on it then.
I move that we adopt resolution 2020 R49 authorizing the mayor to enter into a vaccination location license agreement with Salt Lake County to allow the county to use the Midvale City Hall parking lot as a drive-through vaccination site.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on this action item. Any discussion? All right, let's have a vote. Rory?
Councilmember Sperry.
Aye.
Glover.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Brown.
Yes.
And Gettle.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the city council meeting.
Motion to adjourn, Mayor.
Thank you. Well, now, how much time do you need, Rory?
We're good on this one. We will, if we could do the MBA first, that would be great. And then the RDA, since we have a closed session with the RDA.
All right. So we're going to move to the Municipal Building Authority agenda next.
Yes. You're okay to go.
You ready to go?
Yes.
All right. These windows to stop jumping over each other. Okay, I want to welcome everybody to the Midvale City Municipal Building Authority meeting on this November 17th. And again, the same conditions apply. This is an electronic meeting. If you want to make comments, you can do so on a YouTube channel and on Mixler and city website. If you'd like to provide public comments, please email your comments to Laura Magnus at LMAGNESS@midvale.com or comment on the Midvale City Facebook page. prior to the completion of the public comments section of this meeting. You may also submit comments if the mayor and city council open the specific agenda item to public comment. These comments will be read then aloud in the meeting and will be part of the public record. Okay, let's have a roll call.
Sorry, mute. Board Member Glover,
Here.
Brown,
Here.
Gettle,
Here.
Sperry,
Here.
and Robinson.
Here.
Good, we're all still among the living. All right, any person wishing to comment on any item not otherwise scheduled for a public hearing on the agenda may submit their comment via email to lauramagnus@midvale.com. Prior to the completion of this portion of the meeting, items brought forward to the attention of the board will be turned over to the staff to provide a response outside of the meeting. Are you aware of any public comments, Laura, for this meeting?
No, Mayor, I do not have any public comments.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move to the consent agenda to consider the minutes of June 16th, 2020.
Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to consider this, or to approve this consent agenda. I shouldn't say approve, to consider it. So any comments or questions on the motion? Rory, would you ask the questions?
Yes, Board Member Brown,
Yes.
Gettle,
Yes.
Glover,
Aye.
Sperry,
Aye.
and Robinson.
Aye.
Okay. Next, we have an action item to consider approval of the resolution 2020-03 MBA, a resolution establishing a time and place for holding Midvale Municipal Building Authority meetings for the 2021 calendar year. Rory?
Yes, this one is the Building Authority meetings are held in conjunction with the City Council meetings after the City Council meeting. So that's what this one just says. When we need it, we will schedule it.
Any comments or questions for Rory on this schedule? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we adopt resolution number 2020-03 MBA, establishing a time and place for holding municipal building authority meetings for the 2021 calendar year.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on this action item. Any questions or comments on the motion? Rory, would you ask the questions?
Yes, Board Member Gettle,
Yes.
Glover,
Aye.
Sperry,
Aye.
and Robinson,
Aye.
and Brown.
I don't exist for this MBA thing, I guess. Yes.
Hey, you used your full name on the last motion, so you exist.
Oh, sorry.
Very good. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the Municipal Building Authority meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, we're out of that. We're now moving to the redevelopment agency. As soon as you're ready, Rory, we'll begin.
Okay, let's see. Give me 1 second here. Go ahead, Mayor.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to the redevelopment agency of Midvale City meeting. The agenda for tonight is November 17th, 2020. This is an electronic meeting, as the previous two were, because there's not a physical location where we can presume everyone will be safe. So if you'd like to make comments, you are to send them to our YouTube channel or to Mixler and city website. Public comments are read into the record by city staff during the public comments and public hearings portions of this meeting. Excuse me. If you would like to make a public comment, please send an email to Laura Magnus at LMAGNESS@midvale.com. When commenting, please limit your comments to 400 words, the equivalent of 3 minutes, Include your first and last name, include your city of residence, though that's optional. Include the name of the agenda item so city staff knows when you want your public comment to be read into the record. City staff will read into the record the equivalent of 3 minutes. Your input is important to us, so please keep your comments concise. Let's have a roll call first.
Okay, Board Member Glover,
Here.
Brown,
Present.
Kettle,
Here.
Perry,
Here.
and Robinson.
Here.
Thank you.
Good. We're all present and accounted for. Any person wishing to comment on any item not otherwise scheduled for a public hearing on the agenda may submit their comment, as I mentioned, to Laura Magnus at midvale.com, lmagnus@midvale.com. Prior to the completion of this portion of the meeting, items brought forward to the attention of the board will be turned over to staff to provide a response outside of the meeting. The first item on our agenda is a consent agenda to consider the approval of the October 6, 2020 minutes.
Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any comments or questions on that motion? Rory?
Okay, Board Member Brown,
Yes.
Kettle,
Yes.
Glover,
Aye.
Perry,
Aye.
and Robinson.
Aye.
Thank you. Our first action item tonight is to consider approval of Resolution 2020-13 RDA, a resolution establishing a time and place to hold Redevelopment Agency of Midvale City meetings for the 2021 calendar year. Rory?
Yes, again, these meetings are held in conjunction with the city council meetings. After the city council meetings and as they are needed, we schedule those. So there's not just a set schedule on that one. It's just when needed.
Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion on this action item.
Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number 2020-13 RDA, a resolution establishing a time and place to hold Redevelopment Agency of Midvale City meetings for the 2021 calendar year.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions on this motion? Hearing none. Rory?
Board Member Brown,
Sure.
Kettle,
Yes.
Glover,
Aye.
Perry,
Yes.
and Robinson.
Aye.
Thank you. Our second action item is to consider approval of Resolution 2020-14 RDA, a resolution approving the purchase of parcel number 2125353043 located at 666 to 668. I assume that's West Center Street, Midvale, Utah. Nate?
Yep. Let me share my screen here. Okay. I'm assuming you can see it. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I had to look way over to see the thumbs up or anything. Okay. Oh, there we go. That's better. All right. So this is just continuing on with as we progress through the development, the redevelopment of the Main Street through the CDA. We've taken several steps over the years in creating a CDA project area, small area plan, putting form-based code into place, recently adopting the Main Street CDA budget, and we're out now currently working with the taxing entities to explain our vision and ask for their participation in the CDA. Here's a map showing the current Main Street CDA. And so our intention here is to do development efforts that will enable owners and developers on the Main Street and in the north area to develop. So we're supporting the concept of parking, power lines, infill development, affordable housing where that makes sense, and then also enhancing the local arts and culture and food that we want to see on the main street and the surrounding areas. So one of the ways that we want to do this that are called out in the small area plan to help the redevelopment. It does call for parking area upgrades and a parking management plan, which is something that we're beginning work on now. And we have done some preliminary work on. And then also working with the developers there to make sure that the incentives that we're working on actually incentivize them to develop the right types of amenities that we want to see there, or businesses that we want to see there. But one of the things that we have continued to hear and that we know could be lacking is that Main Street develops as parking. And that's a major incentive for developers. So one of the ways that that I like to look at this is really sort of getting ahead of the development that comes in and looking at the RDA strategically in a way that parking makes sense. And so really kind of identifying some of these nodes where the city already owns property, where there could be public parking put in place. These dots aren't the only place that public parking could go, but those are places that the city or the RDA already has property in place. With the small lot sizes on Main Street, parking becomes an issue when you're talking about economies of scale and getting the right size development in there. And so what happens a lot with these redevelopments on Main Street is that a collaborative public-private partnership with parking really makes a lot of sense. And that allows the infill development to happen without those developers having to park their developments. Even though the form-based code doesn't call out a lot of parking requirements, we know that the businesses still need the ability to park so that their customers, so that their employees have a place to be. So following that, we really kind of identify these nodes for parking and their ability to very quickly sort of cover the area so that you kind of have good coverage that you can quickly park and walk to the destination that you're trying to get to on Main Street, or in any of that area in between Holden and Main Street and Center that we're looking for the redevelopment to happen in. These nodes work really well as when you look at them from their ability to access the parking without having to go down Main Street, but then quickly being able to get to Main Street. And so you can see with the orange arrows that you have lots of access from Center Street, from Holden, that allows people to get in and out of those parking areas. If you were, for some reason, wanted to close Main Street down for an event or anything like that, those parking areas would work really well. So the thing that we're considering now is the purchase of the property. If you look at the map here in red, which is a lot that's back behind the first block of Main Street. And so what we're looking to do there is purchase that property. That adds significantly to the property that the city or the Main Street or that the RDA already owns. So we could facilitate more parking there. Eventually, as development goes in, this could enable structured parking if that made sense. But this is the lot that we're looking at. So the city has negotiated, sorry, the RDA has negotiated a purchase agreement for the property, which is 0.44 acres for $245,000, which is about 12.72 per square feet. We would have a 60-day due diligence period. We have done title work on this already, but we will do some further due diligence, and then we would would just do a agreed upon closing time after that period. The Main Street RDA does have $300,000 available, so there is budget to make this purchase. This is just an outline of the property that looks like a couple of lines are missing there, but an outline of the property that the city or the RDA already owns, and this adds to that and makes a pretty good contiguous area to work with in terms of parking. So if there's any other questions on this, I'm happy to answer them, or I'll let the mayor take it from here.
Is this particular map you're showing us right now, north is down? Am I looking?
No, north is up. Let me. So this is Center Street here, and this is Main Street. This would be the museum back here.
Ah, okay. You're on the east side of Main Street.
Yep, east side.
I'm with you now. Okay. Any questions or comments then for Nate on this proposal? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we adopt resolution number 2020-14 RDA, which authorizes the agency to purchase the 0.44 acre lot at 666 to 668 Center Street for $245,000.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments on that motion? Rory, would you ask the question?
Board Member Brown,
Agreed.
Gettle,
Yes.
Glover,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
and Robinson.
Yes.
Thank you.
I think Board Member Brown has his thesaurus open tonight.
I have literally a synonym of yes words that I'm just going to use forever.
I was thinking we need to start like the Brown bingo game, and you know,
it's a wild card. You just never know what's coming.
There you go.
Especially I call this the after dark show with this RDA and NBA stuff anyway. So I feel like anything goes.
Okay. All right. It looks like the next item is a closed session, so I will entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Mayor, I move that we enter a closed session to discuss real estate purchase.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to go into closed session to discuss purchase, exchange, or lease of real property. Any questions or comments on the motion? Rory, would you ask the question?
Yes, Board Member Gettle,
Yes.
Glover,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Robinson,
Aye.
and Brown.
Aye.
Okay, this is going to take just a few minutes for them to run upstairs and change the tape. So